Hello, this is Giovanni. This is tutorial number 7. This is on TDF Creation for your new project. Um, Before we go anywhere, back up your TDF you're about to start fidgeting with. We're going to be deleting entries and changing some things around, so go ahead and create a backup, put it someplace safe in case you break your track. So go into locations. I have a track that was exported from Bob's Track Builder. Now this is a track that we've cut and worked on. We've already changed the scene file so it'll load the proper track. But I'm going to open the track with 3D SimEd. Now, if you don't have 3D SimEd, that's fine. I mean, you've been working with Max. You could open your entire track project in Max, but I didn't have to forward the video there at all. That's how quickly a track can open in 3D SimEd. It's a really good program. You could actually do everything you've done in Max in 3D SimEd, I believe. So, but I'm using it to you can bring up your project, hit edit and editing materials, and it brings up a material dialog. This is every material that's on your track. Now it shows all my sky materials from the skybox. It shows all the materials that we cut. There's our wall. There's our turns that we cut and our straightaways. And there was a grass. There's the marbles. There's the grass for the infield and the outfield and the X sectors. The grass can later be, renamed and cut as infield and outfield when you build your pit area and what have you. But most importantly, it shows us every material that's actually on the track. So I open up the TDF that was generated by Bob's, and we can see there's just lots of stuff that is unnecessary, in the way, annoying. I like a nice clean TDF. It's easier to work on. So right off the bat, deleted the nonsense at the top. I'm deleting these miscellaneous bump amps, the rumble grips. It's all unnecessary, and it's not going to be on my final TDF. I'm changing my stock bump amp to something a little more friendly on the dirt, and I'm going to copy and paste, half a dozen road dry grips underneath track bars just to get things ready for me. We'll be back to edit that further. So looking down below here, we have all the materials that Bob's is going to provide, all the material IDs, none of which are going to be on our track or are on our track. So I'm just switching some things around so they kind of look the way I want them to look. I'm going to have this section named Racing Surfaces. I like to do all my editing in the top part of the TDF for grips and bump, and then the only time I want to scroll down is if I want to mess with resistance or change dust and what have you. So I'm setting this first one up. I'm just stealing one that was there, deleting all the junk out of there that does nothing or doesn't work or looks like crap. All the reactions. I'll put a dust or a skid reaction in at a later date when I'm doing final edits on this TDF. I'm going to put change sparks to 0 from 1. Ground shouldn't spark when you're driving across it. Change the sound from dry to grass so it doesn't sound like a wheel squealing. And I copied it. I'm just going to, just like with road dry grip, paste a whole bunch of them. And now I'm going to go through and change the material equals to all the different track materials that I know I created. TUR 1, 2, and 3, and Cush, and Marbles, and STR 1 and 2. And this is just making it so rFactor applies surface properties to each one of these material IDs. These are the material IDs we created, so you should know what you created. And going through and assigning a different road dry grip number to each one. That way, like I said, if I'm editing grips, I don't have to, scroll down at all in my TDF. I just adjust the track variables at the very top of the TDF. I would come down here for resistance, which right now everything's at 0. That's fine. Not really going to get into what each TDF entry does. If there's any interest in that, I can do one. But for now, I just want to show you how to get your TDF cleaned up and ready for editing on the track that you've just created a bunch of material IDs for and cut in whichever program you cut it in. So anything that's after, if you don't already know this, anything that's after a forward slash in these text files have no effect on the text file. So it's good for putting in notes or just kind of little bits of information to tell you what things do. So what I'm doing is after each one of those slashes is putting a notation of what the actual material is. You'll see that in the GDB as well. You'll see some notes about this is the this is the folder it shows up in rFactor, etc. You'll see those slashes show up in some other places in your text files in rFactor. So I'm adding an extra road dry grip for I was one material. I was one dry grip short. I'm changing everything to 0.8, 0.85, something in there, something that's a little more dirt car friendly for when I go out and do my initial testing. And I'm going to copy each one of the notations I made for each material after the road dry grip in the track variables to save me from having to constantly scroll up and down and see what controls what. The thing with TDFs is you don't have to do any of this. As long as you have a material ID named on your feedback section down below, and you have a number assigned to dry equals, whether it's after the equals sign or a road dry grip call, it doesn't matter. Our rFactor doesn't care. As long as you have a number there, the track is going to react. The distinction here is that I want a TDF that's easy to work on, not just for me, but for any league operators that come to this track in the future or want to use one of my tracks. So I'm continuing to delete materials that I know do not exist on my track, and at any time I can always pull up the 3D Submit material dialog and verify if the material does not exist in that list, it doesn't need to be in the TDF. If it does exist in that list and it's a drivable surface, it absolutely does need to be in the TDF. So I'm making sure I leave my grass because that's my current infield and outfield. I'm gonna tidy up the grass instance here by putting in track variable calls in for the right there. The Bob's puts it out just numbers. So I'm cleaning that up. There's a really good chance that if I continue to work on this track, this is going to become infield and outfield, or pit road and outfield, etc. And I'll just change this material ID or copy it over a few times. And make it so that these are all my driving surfaces that are not actually the racetrack. I'll keep separate. Again, totally unnecessary, but for me, this is just how I need to do things, or my brain will twitch. So we have our walls. We have tire walls, cement walls, safer walls, guardrails. This current track does not have anything other than a cement wall. So I'm deleting all the other wall calls, and I'm deleting the current material names. And although the way rFactor works, simply calling it wall will work, I'm going to put in the full name of my wall's material, which is wall_tut. And I know that that's exactly what it's controlling, and I know that I've edited this entry. I want the wall to spark, so I changed that to a 1. Now, if I were to add tires to this track or a guardrail somewhere, and that was the material ID, I would have to add that. Just as if you create a pit path or some other roadway, you would have to make sure you add that. Or if you recut your track and add a lane, you're going to have to come back into the TDF and add that material ID call, which once you get the first bit done, it's really as simple as copy and paste and attention to detail. So at this point, you're going to take you're going to take your car out on your track. I suggest you just drive around slowly, make sure you drive across each lane of your racetrack, and make sure you drive on all of your driving surfaces that surround your track. If your car at any point falls through into nothingness, that is a specific material ID that is broken, and there's a very good chance that it's broken in your TDF. So you'll have to go to that area of the TDF and look for a typo or a mistake or an incorrect call of some sort. A single typo can completely break a surface. So attention to detail is fairly important, and a willingness to bug hunt is also important. This tutorial was some of it's necessary, but a large part of it obviously isn't. I I wanted to do one showing how I set up a TDF though, because when I make a TDF on a track or a track that I've edited of someone else's, I try and clean it up, just knowing that there's a lot of league owners that like to regrip tracks for whatever car they're running or whatever type of event they want to put on. And if they're not track editors or track builders themselves, a messy, cumbersome TDF can be pretty daunting and pretty discouraging to work on. So keeping things organized, keeping things well labeled, and removing any irrelevant entries really goes a long way in giving a track to the community that league operators will be uh, more motivated to work with. And that's the whole idea, putting out tracks that leagues want to use. That'll do it for this tutorial. I hope it helped you out in some way. Good luck building your tracks and have fun.